Hey everybody, it's Brian Asbury, and I just wanted to welcome you to today's episode. If you could, like today's episode, hit that subscribe button, and let's continue to grow the Developmentally Speaking brand. Today, my guest is the grandson of the founder of the WWE. His father is Shane McMahon. He's number 37 for the Indiana Hoosiers, Mr. Declan McMahon. How are you, sir?
Doing very well. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking time out to do this. I know you don't do too many, so it's an honor for me to sit down with you today.
Absolutely.
So, what was it like growing up a McMahon?
I mean, it was awesome. It truly was awesome because as you grow, I always tell people all the time, is that as you grow, you get to grow with the business, right? And it's not like when you're a fan per se, as I was when I was younger, you really see it like through a fan's perspective. But as you grow older and as you're kind of invested in it, you get to see the business side of it, right? You get to see like you get to have conversations with your dad about the matches and about what goes into creating them and what goes on backstage and things like that. And like I've said last, it's that like when you're a kid, right, you see these people on TV and you think that they're superheroes, right? But when they come home, they're just down to earth, normal people that just they just get banged up and they do it like for the love of the sport, for the love of the entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just in growing up in McMahon, it's gotten me matured very well because I've been around so many people with from John Cena to wrestlers to LeBron and other superstars, in other areas of the game. My dad and my grandpa would always teach me, manners, shake people's hand, look them in the eye when you're talking to them, things like that. And I think in being a McMahon, it came with a lot of responsibility and knowing that when you come from such a nice family and when you come from a family that's constantly in the media, constantly being looked at, you always have to look the part, you have to play the part.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, but in that pressure, you really get to find, it just teaches you a lot of things about life that help you in the future. So it's been a blessing and it's been amazing.
When did you first realize just who your family was?
Well, I mean, I've always known, but the first time that I think I really realized what everything was about, because I've seen it on TV, like, and I've seen it, and I knew that like we owned it, and that my dad was a wrestler, my grandpa, whatever. But I think the first time I really understood everything was 7 years ago when I walked out at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's music hit, he walked out, and then me and my two brothers, Kenny and Rogan, we ran out right behind him and walking out and hearing the roar of the crowd of 100,000,
Mm-hmm.
sold out AT&T Stadium was truly, truly incredible. And it makes you realize, why these guys get up every day and do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to hear the roar of that crowd and just to feel so in the moment is so, so, so incredible. And that's kind of when I realized that this is so much bigger than just wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's so much entertainment. People truly buy in, they love it, and when you put on a great show, they love it. When you don't put on a good show, they hate it, right? So it's so in the moment, and you just feel like so like appreciative for the business
Mm-hmm.
at that point, and that's kind of when it really pieced all together. Like, excuse my language, where I was like, holy shit, this is nuts.
You made your debut at WrestleMania 20, and then you returned to WrestleMania 32.
Yeah, and maybe the next one I'll be in the ring. Now.
So, have you ever thought about getting in the ring? Does in the ring seem more for you, or were you interested more in like the backstage? Because you've seen it all
Yeah,
from every
you
angle.
know, I think it's very different. Like I think there's obviously thank you to the Lord above, but there's always a time and a place for everything,
Hmm.
and I think God is a time and place for everything. However, with that being said, I think I would probably give wrestling a try. I've always wanted to do if I can only do one match. I've told my grandpa, my dad, I would want to do a match against my two brothers,
Hmm.
a triple threat match, probably Hell in a Cell. Maybe jump off some cool shit.
Oh,
But
just like the old man.
oh yeah, yeah. But I think I would definitely consider giving wrestling a try, but in being around the business, not everybody gets to see what goes on behind the
Hmm.
scenes. And in playing football and in watching, what goes on behind the scenes for the WWE, you really get to see how it becomes almost like you're writing a story, right? You're like
Hmm.
you're projecting a movie. And I think in the way that you're almost like you're conducting an orchestra, in the sense that there are so many moving parts. It's almost like solving a puzzle. And I think that would also be really, really cool. But obviously, I'm committed to football right now. I'm gonna get my college degree in a couple years, so I'm kind of just letting that pass, and then we'll see. Got a lot more workouts, and got to take a couple more bumps before I can get in there. But I think I would definitely give it a try.
Yeah. So out of you and your brothers and your cousins, who do you think is more likely to get into the family business?
Uh, Probably me. I mean, the story's already written, right? I
Hmm.
mean, the rightful heir, the good looking, the one who looks
Hmm.
like Vince, right? Um, so I think in the sense that you could play off the WrestleMania 20, right? Like I posted on Twitter, right? You could play that off and to just show that like there's the new generation McMahon has arrived.
Hmm.
So I think in that sense I would, but we have such a great family, and we're all so supportive of each other. So I think really any of us could potentially want to do it. I know Aurora, Paul's oldest daughter, Triple H's oldest daughter. She's always talked about wanting to do it, but in having my dad and my grandpa's ego, I think I'd be the best. So
Absolutely. So do you think if you gave wrestling a try that you could dethrone the tribal chief?
I don't know. I've talked to Mr. Reigns a lot.
Hmm.
He's such a great guy, but what he's doing right now is incredible.
Hmm.
He's really helping out the business, not only just in the United States, but all over the world, right? And just the storyline with the bloodline, with Samoa, right, and just how it's evolved from something that happened at the beginning of 2019, right, and stemmed through COVID, right, how it's
Hmm.
been going on for so long has just really, really been incredible, right? They've really done a phenomenal job with him, and it shows that like it doesn't always work the first time, right? Like you have
Hmm.
sometimes it's a lot of trial and error, right? Like Roman Reigns when he first won the belt, people hated him. I
Hmm.
mean, they were booing him out of the building. But now he's really ascended into one of the all-time elite, and
Hmm.
I'm very, very happy for what they've done with him, and he's done a phenomenal, phenomenal job. But if the storyline had it, I wouldn't really mind being the undisputed champion. So that wouldn't be too bad.
I was there for WrestleMania 39 when your father returned and he had his injury. How's his rehab going? How's he
His
doing?
his rehab's going very, very well. He's gotten back to like jogging, squatting. He's starting to work out again. It's getting kind of difficult for him to bear side to side, but
Hmm.
his rehab is going really, really well. He's making phenomenal progress. The doctor said all the time that he's healing quicker than they thought, and he just when he tore it, he completely tore his quad
Hmm.
tendon. So that's a very long, hard recovery, but he's been crushing rehab. He's been doing his thing, and he's we'll hopefully get back soon. So obviously, when you're your son, obviously you
Yeah.
wanna see your dad be able to
Hmm.
do what they love, right? And
Yeah.
my dad loves wrestling second to none. I mean, he truly cares for the business, but not only for the business. He truly wants to just put on a show for the
Hmm.
fans, because the fans show him so much love, and it's so rewarding for a lot of those guys to just give to those fans who came to see them. So uh, hopefully he comes back better than ever, and I think he will. His rehab's coming great.
So how does your mom and everybody feel when your dad's flying 30 feet through the air? Because not everybody does that, and it seems like Shane's like, I'll do it. I got
Yeah, so
it.
like the first time I remember my mom was telling me, like at a dinner one time, the first time my mom was really, really worried was when my dad was fighting the Big Show.
Hmm.
And uh, so a lot of people don't know that when my dad, he was only going to stop halfway, right? And kind of fall off. But when he was up there, he was like, he got up there, he looked down, he was like, fuck it, I'm going all the way up this. Yeah. So climbed all the way up, and jumped down obviously, and that's really when my mom was just like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
like just like heart was beating, like, are you okay? Is he okay? Is he okay? But when you have been doing it for so long, like my dad has,
Hmm.
you begin to just trust in the person that's doing it, right? Because a lot of the wrestling business is about trusting who you're in the ring with, right? Because safety is the most important thing,
Hmm.
right? And when you're putting your body at such risk like that, obviously everybody's holding their breath, because
Hmm.
at any moment anything could go wrong. We've seen countless injuries in wrestling because I mean, when guys take these bumps over and over again, like things happen, right?
Hmm.
It's Everybody's human, right? It's not like these guys are some like there's some genetic freaks, right? Everybody suffers injuries, whether they're big or small, right? But in taking these risks, my mom, us, when we're watching, it's that very quick, like just waiting. You're like, oh my! Like we were there when he for Undertaker, we were there at Hell in a Cell when he jumped off and Sami Zayn pulled Owens out of the way. We're sitting there, we're looking up, we're like, oh my God, is he gonna jump? And we see him, he does the signature praise to the Lord, and then falls down, and we're like, oh my, boom! Well, that at that point we're like, please be okay, please be okay, please be okay. And then like the referee, everybody will be like, good. But I'm like, I don't know how you can do that stuff. It's almost superhuman what he can do.
Absolutely. So, do you have the fancy footwork like your father?
I can put it in a little bit, and being a running back too, it helps me. Um, Coach Johnson, my high school coach, Coach Leon Williams, he played football at University of Miami. He really, really helped me with my footwork in terms of being an athlete, right? Because in high school, my freshman year, I was strictly a quarterback. And at the end of my freshman year, I worked with him so much just in terms of my footwork, running, putting on weight, lifting. And he really turned me into the player that I am, and same with my high school coach, Coach Kevin Fontaine, who's now at Zavarian. They really, really helped me with my feet. And, my dad and me we'll always play wrestle, we'll always play fight and stuff like that. So we, he's still got his footwork, but I've been able to catch him a little bit, with his quad. So I kind of got a leg up with him, no pun intended. But yeah, I've got the fancy footwork like my dad. My dad's pretty good though. He's pretty quick.
Yeah. Is there any particular favorite McMahon family moment on TV? So the world sees McMahon's differently than what your family would. So outsiders have this vision, your grandfather, this billionaire, he's this evil man with the billionaire strut. Do you ever do the strut?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I'm the man. I have to do
your aunt was she's just back in the day she was the most hated woman on television.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, being the villain is great, because it's just like when you hear the boos, it means you're doing your job. So it's like you just always get to play off the crowd, and the crowd always does such a phenomenal job. It's just amazing. But answering your question, I think my dad always says that his favorite moment ever was walking out with us at WrestleMania. He was like it, and he was like that was the highlight of my life. He was like it'll never, and it was the highlight of my life too. My dad was like in everything I've done in the business, overseas, in America, behind the scenes, in the ring. He was like, nothing was more like close to home, emotional for me, quite like walking out with my three boys. And so, he talks about that all the time, and it was just absolutely incredible for him. And that's his favorite moment, because he's such a family-oriented guy, and I say it all the time. I'm so thankful to my dad because my dad would always, even if he was wrestling, on a Friday, he would always fly after the show if we had a high school game on Saturday, or he would make all of these trips just so he could spend time with us. And it's just the sacrifices that he made, not only for the business but for his family, are incredible. And it makes him almost look like a superhero to all of us.
And I thought that was a very touching moment. I have three boys of my own, so I grew up watching. Thank you. I grew up watching your father, and I was always drawn to Shane. And seeing 20 plus years on TV, and then seeing that moment, like it was an emotional moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that was a very you tell it's a very proud father moment for him.
100%.
Absolutely. Any favorite wrestlers growing up?
I mean, Undertaker's the man. It was unfortunate that Undertaker had to get the best of him, but Undertaker, Roman Reigns right now, and in growing older, or like when you shift almost from a fan to seeing it from a business perspective, Roman Reigns has just done such a phenomenal job. I'm obviously very close with John Cena. The Usos always show us a ton of love when I'm there and when the family's there, and obviously old school guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those guys are the man. Stone Cold's the man. But I would say the Undertaker growing up was just my favorite. Just a larger than life human being, right? I mean, when you meet him, standing at 6'11", he's already larger than life.
Oh yeah.
when you accommodate that with the storyline and the story and like the history of it, it's like you don't. I mean, he really does feel like a dead man, and it's incredible.
So what drew you to football growing up?
I honestly I don't know. I just like I remember playing football since I was young. Like I was always playing football like at recess and in middle school and like in kindergarten and then like I would play flag football and then tackle football and then I really fell in love with it in high school. You know, I had such a great coaching staff from like I mentioned earlier, Kevin Fontaine, our head coach, to Leon Williams to Mike Cameradise, and so many of these high school guys, and they just really made me fall in love with it.
Hmm.
You know, and I just worked every day, you know, to just kind of fall in love, not only just for myself, right? Because I love to work out and I love to lift, but in just that when you play football, in the same reason that when you go out for the business and you wrestle, you're doing something that's bigger than yourself, right? You're
Hmm.
doing something for a team. You're doing something to achieve a goal, right? To win a state championship or to win the championship or to put on a great show for great viewers. So like you're constantly wanting more out of something. So I feel like falling in love with football. I mean, I've met my best friends playing football. You know,
Hmm.
we've got so many guys here, you know, that I play poker with. We got so many guys. I got so many guys back home. Like one of my buddies, Chris Coleman, probably my best friend back in high school. And in playing football with him, he introduced me to his hometown friends, and we got close, right? And I think football is the one sport, and it really is where, besides wrestling, right, where you could get knocked down
Hmm.
and the only thing you could do is you have to get back up, right? And not only do I think that that's such a great analogy for the WWE, right? Because you take all these bumps, you have to stand back up. But I think it's such a great analogy for life, right? Like, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, life's going to give you obstacles, life's going to knock you down. But no matter what you're going through, you just got to get back up and you got to keep going. You got to keep moving forward. And in playing football, when you get knocked down, you have your teammates to help you up. In life, when you get knocked down, you'll have your family to lift you up. You'll have people around you.
Hmm.
So I think it's in playing football, it's just such a team game, and it's even though it's such a gladiator sport, it really just teaches you brotherhood, right, and family, and just caring for one another, and just really giving it your all for something that's more than yourself.
Hmm. When it came time for college, how many colleges did you visit before you settled on Indiana, and why IU?
So I visited Fordham University back in New York. I visited Rutgers. I visited Duke, and I visited Indiana. Right, and those are obviously they're all phenomenal schools. You know, beautiful campuses. But the main reason I chose Indiana wasn't just for the campus, but it was for everything that revolved around football and outside of football, right? Like I'm working on I'm getting my degree in the Kelley School of Business, right, which is one of the most renowned business schools in America. But like I said in an interview in the past, that the main reason I committed was Coach Allen, right? And although we're not having the season that we necessarily want, right? We're still really working hard, and we still preach to something every day, and it's called LEO, right? Love each other. And in buying into that, right, and somebody who came from such a strong family, right, and somebody who grew up on the beliefs of that family's everything. For my dad, I wanted to go a place where I could really feel this brotherhood and really feel like I was a part of something. And when I was at Indiana, when I first came here, everybody just welcomed me with open arms, right? A lot of people didn't even know who I was, right? Some of the guys like hadn't even watched WWE before,
Hmm.
but in getting to know everybody, I knew right away I made the right decision, right? Quarterback Brendan Sorsby, our starter right now. As soon as I committed, he texted me on Twitter, he messaged me on Twitter, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm so excited to have you. Like, let's get to work. Let's play Fortnite back when it was popular.
Hmm.
Like little things like that. Like it's truly, Coach Allen has done just truly such a good job of building a phenomenal culture here at Indiana, and I think it's second to none. It's just stuff right now. Like we got to start winning, and I
Hmm.
think we will. You know, we're gonna put it together hopefully, and just got to keep working hard.
Hmm. So what's your plans for after college?
I don't know. You know,
Mm.
I really don't know. I got a lot of time to think about that,
Yep.
right? Like I'm working in the Kelley School of Business. I'm working on getting my degree in business management, right? But um, I would love to shadow, my grandfather, my dad, and my uncle, and just see, how the business is run. When I have just the time to be able to fully commit to it.
Hmm.
But I would love to run other businesses and things like that I'm interested in. But I'm really one of those guys that kind of goes where the wind takes you, and Like I said, I got a lot of time to think about it, but whenever the opportunity presents itself, I'll capitalize on it to my fullest
Hmm.
ability.
And shadowing those three people, it's three different minds, three different points of views, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be wrestling because they're all successful
Absolutely.
building this empire that's evolved from more than just a wrestling company.
Oh, 100%.
I couldn't think of three better people to learn from.
Yeah, and, like I say, I've truly been blessed with, with the family that I'm in, and just in the sense of, I mean, my grandfather is, one of the most renowned businessmen in American history, right? And
Hmm.
taking a company that pretty much declared bankruptcy, right, and went out of business, and buying it back and trusting it and having that vision and playing to the market has been incredible. And I truly can't think of anybody smarter than my dad. My dad originally wanted to buy the UFC when it was very low, and and a lot of people turned it down. My grandfather included turned it down. Just the idea of it, because it was a different market. It wasn't really a big thing back then, but my dad had saw a vision, and my dad sees these visions all the time. I mean, my dad wanted to invest in Disney and a bunch of other companies, and he truly sees the market in a way that I've never seen anybody else do. He's so smart, and I feel like people don't always give him the credit for it that he deserves, because a lot of the things that he does obviously are behind the scenes, right? You
Hmm.
don't you don't always see the work that goes in and the time that he puts in, right? But fans are so quick to jump on his last match or his quad injury, whatever, that everybody instantly goes to like, oh, you should retire, whatever, rather than appreciating the fact that he's still doing it and the
Hmm.
genius behind him. So, being able to learn from my dad and my grandfather would be absolutely incredible. And then in learning from Paul, he's just so knowledgeable about the business and about creative. It would be really great.
What's one incredible story that happened, that could only happen to a McMahon growing up?
Um, I, I mean, like I said, I keep going back to it, but I don't think a lot of people get the opportunity to walk out in front of a sold out
Yeah,
AT&T Stadium at
yeah.
at WrestleMania. So I think that's something only a McMahon would have. But like, I guess a story that only a McMahon could have is being able to have Thanksgiving dinner with Triple H, McMahon, and Shane McMahon. I mean,
Hmm.
and you see, like, in listening to them, like, as in growing up, right? When at first, like, it's kind of hard to listen in the conversations, but as you grow older, you realize just how knowledgeable everything is. Like, and especially my dad, right? Like, my dad's a real no BS kind of guy. So
Hmm.
my dad will point out flaws, he'll point out things that are wrong, and you could just see everybody really listens. But that's something that only McMahon would have. But like, there's been so many other experiences in
Hmm.
terms of places I've been and people I've met. It's just been really, really unique, and it's been really, really awesome. I wouldn't trade any of it in for the world.
Declan, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time out to come on today. It was a true pleasure. Um, your family started something that was very, very special, and for a lot of people, wrestling can be a therapeutic. It's an escape for a lot of people. Growing up, I always could relate to wrestling when I was going through a hard time, and that's because of the stuff that your grandfather did, your grandmother, your aunt, your dad. And so I am thankful for yourself and for your family.
Thank you very, very much, and thank you very much once again for having
Yeah,
me on. It's been really great talking to you, and I'm just glad that I was able to answer some of your questions, and uh,
absolutely.
I'm glad that wrestling has provided you and plenty other people across the country that feeling of of just watching something that's bigger than
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So thank you very much for being a fan and for watching. So for me and the whole family, we really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. There's a big event going on in Indianapolis next March called the Squared Circle Expo. Literally everybody has worked for your family, so you might check
Yep.
that out. If there's anything I can ever do for you, sir, just let me know.
Thank you very much, and we'll hope to talk to you again in the future. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very,
You too.
very much, and thank you to the WWE Universe for listening.
Thank you.